Hello, my name is Jenna, and today I'm going to be showing you how to administer the Test of Integrated Language and Literacy Skills, otherwise known as the TILS. This test comes highly recommended to SLPs, especially those that are working in the schools. This is because we see a lot of literacy concerns or deficits, primarily at school age and in the classroom. So when do you use this assessment? You can use the TILS when a student is struggling in school and you suspect possible language-based impairments. It's also appropriate for students who are eligible for special education services and their IEP might wish to assess their language or literacy skills. And the IEP team could include their teachers, their parents, other supporters, parapros, and if any of these people have language or literacy concerns, this is when you could use the TILS to assess that. So who is the TILS for? You can use the TILS with, again, students that you suspect a literacy concern for or are in special education. It is standardized for children, adolescents, and young adults from ages 6 years old to 18 years and 11 months. So if the child is 5 years, 11 months, you cannot use it. And if they're 19 years old or older, you cannot use it, but within the frame of 6 years to 18 years and 11 months. The target population for this test are students who have a suspected primary language disorder, a suspected learning disability in the area of oral or written language, for students that are suspected of a specific reading disability such as dyslexia, and for students with other disabilities such as a hearing impairment, autism spectrum disorder, an intellectual disability, or a traumatic brain injury. So how do you use this assessment? First, you're going to read through the examiner's manual thoroughly. This is going to give you a lot of information about who the test is for, what it assesses, and how to score it. It will also have a list of test materials that you will use. Reading through the manual is another way to ensure you're keeping the test standardized and administering it correctly. So the TILS has 15 subtests, and you can administer anywhere from just one subtest all the way to all 15, depending on your concerns for the student and depending on what kind of information you want to gather. So first you'll start by gathering your materials. You will want the stimulus book, which is right here, and you will also want your record form. I like to start by reading through the directions on your chosen subtest that you're going to do. For the purposes of this video, we are going to do the vocabulary awareness subtest. Next, I like to go through and highlight or underline any important information that I see. So for example, I usually underline or highlight whether or not repetition is allowed. I like to highlight the basal rule, which for us is 4 consecutive scores of 2. And I also highlight the ceiling rule, which is 6 scores of 0 within a sequence of 8 consecutive items. Obviously I can't do it on this because this comes with the assessment, but when you have your own record form, you can highlight and underline anything that you think is necessary. Remember that your basal rule, your ceiling rule, your repetition rules can vary across subtests within one assessment, so you'll want to make sure that you pay attention to that. For the vocabulary awareness subtest, you're going to start with the practice items. This subtest is nice because it has more directions and clarifies the basal and ceiling rule on the back. And these are the practice items. For the practice items, you are allowed to coach students. So this means that if they give a wrong answer or seem confused, you can ask probing questions. And the record form has examples of probing questions that you can ask. You'll see those when you read the directions. One of the probing questions is, can you think of a better reason to put dog and cat together? Or do you think they are both animals? Once you finish with the practice items, you're going to move on to the actual test items. You're going to start by saying the 3 words either with the student or for the student. And again, this is nice because it has the 3 words on the back, so you can sit across from the student while doing this. So first, you're going to ask what 2 words go together. Then, once they say 2 words that they think go together, you're going to ask why. You're going to circle or record the answers on your record form, and then you're going to ask for 2 other words that go together and ask why. You can circle and interpret those answers, and if the student says, I don't know, or makes a guess, you can write down DK for I don't know. The student will receive a score of 1 for each correct word pair and reasoning. they must give both the word pair and the reason to get the point. If the student gives a wrong answer or says, I don't know, it is going to be marked as a 0. Now I'm going to show you how to actually administer the test with someone else. Let's go. All right, Sophie, so we are going to say these 3 words together, all right, and I'll ask you some questions, okay? So we have pen, pig, and paper. So how do 2 of these words go together?
Okay, well, pig and pen, I mean, they kind of sound the same, and I feel like they just go together.
Okay, great. And what are 2 other words that go together?
And pig and paper go together too.
Why do pig and paper go together?
They go together because, well, they also sound the same.
Oh.
And they're also, well, maybe pigs also like paper too.
Great. You're working really hard, I can tell. The next 3 words are thorn, rose, daisy. How or what 2 words go together?
Probably rose and daisy.
Why do rose and daisy go together?
Because they're flowers.
Okay. And what 2 other words go together?
Maybe daisy and thorn.
Okay, why do daisy and thorn go together?
Because thorns are green and daisies have green on them.
Great. All right. So how do you interpret the test now? Well, let's look at Sophie's answers. Sophie said that pen and pig go together in the first item. That is correct. They do go together, but the reasoning she gave is not correct, so that is scored as a 0. Sophie said that pig and paper go together, which is incorrect, so that is also a 0. On the next item, Sophie correctly said that rose and daisy go together because they're both flowers. For that, both the pairing and the reasoning she gave are correct, so she earned 1 point. Then she said that daisy and thorn go together, which is incorrect, so that is automatically a 0. So far, Sophie has earned 1 point. After you have completed these subtests, you're going to add up her score. That will be her raw score. When you have the raw score, you can then convert that into the standard score and percentile rank. These scores can help you determine whether Sophie has an actual deficit or disorder in terms of literacy and language. In the back of the examiner's manual, there are columns and charts telling you how to convert different scores into standard scores, percentile ranks, and other information. When you are converting scores, make sure you are on the correct page with the correct age of your student that you are assessing. So we did the vocabulary awareness subtest, and let's say that Sophie got a score of 30. So she would receive a standard score of 18. We can also convert to the percentile rank. So again, we're looking at Sophie's correct age. So for our purposes, we're saying that Sophie is 6. We're going over to vocabulary awareness, and she got a score that is greater than 26. She got a score of 30. And we're looking over to see that she is in the 99th percentile rank. To determine if your student has a literacy or language disorder, you can use the identification core subtest within the TILs. This means that for our purposes for Sophie, we would administer the vocabulary awareness subtest, the phonemic awareness subtest, and the non-word repetition subtest. Next, you will add up the scores of the 3 subtests that you administered, and this would be your identification core score. You're going to compare the sum of the identification core standard score to the age-appropriate cut score in the identification chart. The identification chart is going to be found on the back of your record form. Once you find your student's cut score, you can determine whether or not they have a literacy or language disorder. For Sophie's case, since she is 6 years old, the cut score is 24. So if she got above a 24, she would not have a literacy or language disorder. But if she got below a 24, she would. So let's say Sophie got a cut score of 20. That would mean that she would have a literacy or language disorder. Thank you for watching this video about how to administer the TILs. This is a great assessment to determine whether your student has a literacy or language concern or disorder.